Hello kiddos, Sir E is here, and today we're going to talk about uniform circular motion. What is uniform circular motion? We define this as a motion along a circular path in which there is no change in speed, meaning the speed is constant and only a change in direction. So when can we consider a motion uniform circular? Uniform meaning that, based on the definition, the speed should be constant. So for us to consider a motion as uniform, the object should be moving at the same speed. So the magnitude is not changing. And then this movement or action must be happening in a circular path. Meeting this criteria, we can consider that motion as uniform circular. Before we dive in further about the details of this topic, let us cite some examples of this motion. Have you ever experienced to go in amusement parks? Because some of the rides in there are examples of uniform circular motion, like for example, the carousel and the Ferris wheel. Circular path and moving at a constant speed. Next example is the movement of Earth and other planets around the sun. What do you call this motion or movement? You got it right. This is called revolution. E paano naman yung movement ng Earth around its axis? Tama kayo. This is called rotation. Huwag kayong malilito. Revolution is the movement of the Earth around the Sun taking its orbit, while rotation is the movement of the Earth in its axis. Few more examples of uniform circular motion. It is observed in some sports, specifically for those sports that being done in a circular arena, like for example, the ice skating and also biking, sometimes running or marathon. And lastly, this can be observed in simple tasks such as there, putting a screw. Again, for us to consider a motion as uniform circular, it must be taking a circular path and moving in a constant speed. For us to further understand about this, let's discuss the details. We have to take note that there is constant velocity, meaning from speed, it will now have a direction. So the difference between speed and velocity is the presence of direction. Remember, speed is a scalar quantity, while velocity is, tama, a vector quantity. And for uniform circular motion, the velocity is tangent to path. Sir, ano pong ibig sabihin ng tangent? Parang ganito yon. So when we say tangent, it means that it is a line that touches the curve at a certain point. Later, we're going to elaborate further the meaning of tangent. But we have to take note that velocity is always tangent to path. Next concept is constant force toward the center. As seen in this picture, the force is always leading towards the center. Kaya dapat nating tandaan na ang direction ng force sa uniform circular motion ay laging pa-center or pagitna. Tatandaan yung basic concept na yan. So meaning, kapag iniikot yung bola tulad ng ginagawa ng tao dun sa picture, in all points, kung nasaan ang bola, the force is always going to the center. And the velocity of the ball is always tangent, as shown by the arrows. This force toward the center is what we call centripetal force. And this is needed to change the direction of a certain object. So what if the centripetal force is removed? Then the ball will continuously move in a straight path. However, the ball moves tangent to path and not outward as might be expected. For instance, this person who's holding the string will release it. Then the ball at that point is in here. So most of the people think that the ball will move outward. However, it will not actually move outward but tangent to the path. So parang ganito. So the ball will continuously move in a straight line. What Newton's law described this event? Tama kayo. This is about the law of inertia. As we recall it, law of inertia states that a body or an object that is in motion will remain in its state of motion unless an external force is applied. And this motion will happen in a straight path. That's why when the person in the picture releases the string, the ball will continuously moving because again in inertia, moving and moving unless an external force will acted upon it. But we have to take note that the path that it will take is always in a straight line. But this should be tangent to the path. Uulitin natin. It is not outward but tangent to path. Let's analyze this. You are sitting on the seat next to the outside door. What is the direction of the resultant force on you as you turn? Is it away from the center or toward center of the turn? For us to visualize that, let's have this picture. As seen in the picture, there is a curve in the path. So the question is the direction of the force away from the center or towards the center? What is your answer? The correct answer in here is toward center. Kung naalala nyo ang explanation kanina, dapat nating tandaan na in uniform circular motion, the direction of the force is always going to the center. It is always toward the center. As we study the uniform circular motion, we will be encountering some formula or formulae. And I will present this to you on this slide. These are the formulas that you need to remember. First, V equals 2 times pi times r over t, wherein V is velocity. We have to take note that since velocity is a vector quantity, it must have a halfway arrow in its representation. Then we got 2 pi. So we will just multiply 2 times 3.1416. So It is the constant value of pi. And the r is for radius. As we combine the 2 pi and r, we got the distance, or actually we are computing for the distance traveled by the object or by the person, just like this one. We define radius as the half of a diameter, and 2 pi is actually the circumference of a circle, which is our path. So combining them together, it refers to the distance traveled by the object or again by a person. The last variable is t. This capital T represents period. When we say period, it refers to one complete revolution. And commonly, our unit for period is second. The next formula that you will encounter is this. A with a subscript C equals V squared over R, wherein AC is the centripetal acceleration, while V2, the V refers to velocity and it must be squared. And R is the radius. So if we need to compute for the centripetal acceleration, this is the formula that we need to use. The third formula is FC equals MAC. Oops, parang familiar, di ba? Because it is alike with the F equals MA of the law of acceleration, which we discussed previously in one of my videos. But in this case, FC is the centripetal force, M is mass, and AC is centripetal acceleration. A while ago, we have discussed that the centripetal acceleration can be computed using this formula. And so some references, or in some cases, they are combining these two formulae or formulas, wherein it looks like this. FC equals m times velocity squared over radius. We have to bear in mind that somehow we really need to remember the formula. However, you only remember, or you have to remember, the basic ones, like what I have presented. The rest, you may derive them. Okay, so let us apply these formulas in solving this problem. A 2-kilogram rock swings in a circle of radius 7 meters. If it takes 8 seconds for it to complete one revolution, what is its velocity? What is its velocity? Centripetal force. What is its velocity? Centripetal acceleration and centripetal force. Whew! Ang dami nating kukumputin. But we can use this illustration so that we can visualize the problem. Merong nakataling bato at ito ay siniswing or pinapaikot. Ang radius ng circle ay 7 meters. At para makabuo ng isang complete revolution or pag-ikot sa circle na to, kinakailangan ng 8 seconds. At ang bigat ng rock ay 2 kilograms. For this computation, let us use GRESA. So what are the given? The given are the mass, which is 2 kilograms, the radius, which is 7 meters, and the capital T, which is referring to period, equivalent to 8 seconds. Then what are our required? We got three. The first one is its velocity. The second one, the centripetal acceleration. And lastly, the centripetal force. For this problem, we got this equation. Let's begin with the equation for velocity, which is v equals 2 pi times r over t. So we have to compute first for the velocity because we're going to use this value for us to compute the centripetal force and acceleration. So the next step for GRESA is the solution. Always remember that solution is just a direct substitution of the given. Wherein we got V equals 2 times 3.1416 times 7 meters. Then it is divided by 8 seconds, which is the period. You may pause this video for a moment so that you can compute for the answer. And the answer is, velocity equals 5.5 meter per second. This time, let us proceed to our second required, which is the centripetal acceleration. And we use this equation for us to compute for this. AC equals V squared over R. And so let's have the solution. We're going to have the direct substitution of the values that we have. Our solution would be AC equals 5.5 meter per second squared over 7 meters. At this point, ginamit na natin yung sagot na nakuha natin, which is the velocity in this equation. Once more, you may pause this video para makompute ang sagot. What is the answer? The centripetal acceleration is equal to 4.3. The unit is meter per second squared. Lastly, we need to compute for the centripetal force. And the formula is, tama, FC equals MAC. And our solution is, tama, FC equals 2 kilograms times 4.3 meter per second squared. Yung 4.3 meter per second squared, ayan yung result ng computation natin kanina ng centripetal acceleration. Pause again this video and compute for the answer. And the answer is, we got centripetal force equals 8.6 Newton. We have to take note that the standard unit for force is Newton. Let us review first the units. For velocity, it's meter per second. For the centripetal acceleration, it's meter per second squared. While for centripetal force, it's Newton. Thus, our statement for this is the rock swings at the velocity of 5.5 meter per second and accelerating at 4.3 meter per second squared with a force of 8.6 Newton. And this force is always toward the center. And there you go. We are done answering the problem. But how about computing for the period? What would be the formula that we're going to use? That's why you have to learn how to derive the formula. And let's have it step by step. Step number 1, use the basic formula. And our basic formula for this case is that V equals 2 pi r over t. Step number 2, transfer t to the left side of the equation. So the result would be V times t equals 2 pi r. Third step, we have to eliminate velocity on the left side by dividing both sides by v. And this is how we do it. Divide both sides by v. And since we got v on the numerator and another v on the denominator, we can cancel them out. And so our formula for t is t equals 2 pi r over v. We have to take note that when we are computing for period, its standard unit would be second. And we will just follow the same steps if the required is the radius for the formula AC equals V squared over R. So you may pause this video for a moment and try to apply these steps and determine the formula for R or radius. What is your answer? The formula for the radius or R is R equals V squared over AC. And when we are computing for the radius, we have to remember that its standard unit is meter. This time, let us determine the relationship existing among the variables by completing the following statements. Number 1, as velocity increases, centripetal acceleration, tama, increases. Ibig sabihin, pag mas bumibilis ang galaw ng object, mas tumataas din ang centripetal acceleration nito. Second statement, as radius increases, centripetal acceleration, it decreases. Ibig sabihin, ang centripetal acceleration ng object na yon ay bababa dahil mas malaki yung space na kailangan niyang i-take. Lastly, as radius increases, velocity, tama, increases. Para masagutan natin yung mga problem na katulad nito, we need to learn how to analyze the formula or a given formula and extract or determine the existing relationships among the variables present in that formula. So ngayon, tuturuan ko kayo ng technique. We got AC equals V squared over R. When we are analyzing the formula, we should take note that we need to compare the variable present on the left side and the variable present on the right side para mas madali ang analysis natin. And let's start with AC and V squared. Kung titingnan ninyo, pantay yung dalawa. Pag ganito ang position ng variables in a formula, it would indicate that the centripetal acceleration and velocity are directly proportional. What do we mean by directly proportional? It means that as one increases, the other one increases too. So as one decreases, the other one as well will decrease. How about the second pair? We got the AC to R, which is the radius. Kung makikita natin, ang R ay nasa baba. So kapag nasa denominator area ang variable, it would indicate that their relationship is inversely proportional. So ano ibig sabihin ng inversely proportional? Ito ay nangangahulugan na they are opposite. As one increases, the other one decreases, and vice versa. So laging opposite. Ulit, para sa technique na to, ang isang variable ay dapat nasa left side ng equation at yung isa ay nasa right side. E paano kung kailangan natin ng radius at velocity? For this case, we have them on the right side of the equation. Both of them. So therefore, para ma-check natin ang kanilang relationship, we need to apply derivation of formula. Kanina, na-derive na natin ito. At ito ang result. We got R equals V squared over AC. So, ang titingnan natin, si R ay kapantay ni V. Ibig sabihin, radius and velocity are directly proportional. We have to take note that the V or the velocity is squared. It means that it is proportional to the square of velocity. It is the same case with the velocity, which is squared, and the centripetal acceleration. So it means that centripetal acceleration is proportional to the square of the velocity. Before we end, let us check the relationship of the radius and centripetal acceleration. Kung titingnan natin, si centripetal acceleration ay nasa denominator area. Ibig sabihin, ang relationship nila ay tama, inversely proportional. And when we check this, tama yung sagot natin kanina. That's why in number 2, the radius increases. Ano nangyari sa centripetal acceleration? Bumaba because they are inversely proportional. I hope that this technique will help you easily determine the relationships existing among the variables in a given formula. Yay! We are done! Maraming salamat po sa inyong support at patuloy na panonood ng mga teach vlog ko. If you find this video very helpful in learning about this topic, then please share this to your classmates or to your batchmates. Huwag na rin kakalimutang mag-like, mag-share, at mag-subscribe. See you again in my next Teach Vlog. Bye-bye! God bless!
Thanks for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.